Hello and welcome to another episode of Pet Pals. I'm Bethany Davidson, the Humane Educator here at Frederick County Animal Control and Pet Adoption Center. Animal wrangling for us is our volunteer coordinator, Sean Snyder, and our first guest is one of our felines. You know, the summer, is here, and that means our population starts to increase. So not only do we have a lot of dogs like we have been having, we also have a lot more cats of all ages. People are always looking for the kittens, but Jackson here is actually our oldest resident of all the animals. He is 14 years old, and he is a very sweet, very handsome gray tabby and white. And he's just looking for a nice place to kind of hang out, retire, feel, relaxed and happy in his home. And while he is an older cat, I have been spending some time with him, and he still has a little bit of playfulness left in him. He has a couple of toys in his cage right now that he really likes and he plays with. And even as we were getting him out of the cage, the staff were talking about how sweet he is. And he's going to make a great addition to any household for however long he's going to be with them. The average lifespan of a cat can be, anywhere from 10 to 15 years, but also a lot of people, our former director, actually Linda Shea, her cat lived to be like 21. So, he could have, a couple years, or he could have 5 more years. We don't know. But because of his great personality, he's going to be a great asset to any home. He is a cat that has previously lived with other animals. His sister, housemate's sister, Joy, is actually also on our adoption floor. She's quite younger at 2 years old, so if you're looking to add more than one cat to your household, those two, while they live separately here at our facility, have lived together, have done well together, so they might be good options for you, in addition to some of our other bonded pairs. He's, again, super easygoing, laid back. Nobody's had any issues with him. Not quite sure how he feels about being on the set today, probably because he's a bigger guy, doesn't really like to be picked up, but we had to pick him up to bring him out here. He tends to prefer keeping his feet on the floor.
So sometimes older pets can have health issues. Are there any known health issues with Jackson?
So he does have some arthritis, so we have him on some supplements, some joint supplements to help with that. He is, as is quite evident, a bit of a larger guy, so a diet can also help. Taking a little weight off of him is going to help with those joints and things like that. And then most of the older cats, even quite younger than he is, need to have a dental at some point. So we're recommending that he have his teeth cleaned, anything that's, starting to, really decay and rot, pulled out, those types of things. So that's something that a new owner would have to take on, that dental. And then, with any senior cat, you're really looking at wanting to get senior blood work done as well, just to kind of figure out where they are. Are there other things going on? And treating those things appropriately. So that's kind of what you're looking at, and that's not uncommon for any of the older animals that we have here in this facility. Because he is a senior at 14, there is a discount when you adopt your animals. So, we are doing that discount for our teachers and all of our school employees. So they would be able to adopt Jackson for free, but if you're not working in the school system, he would go home for a $40 discount because he's over the age of 10. Jumping from our oldest resident to one of our youngest, everybody's always asking about kittens. We are in full swing of kitten season, and this is one of the few adoptable kittens that are still available for adoption on the adoption floor right now. This is Todd, and he's about 10 weeks old at this point. And he came to us previously owned. So sometimes people are like, previously owned, he's so young. Anytime someone finds an animal on their property and cares for it for any period of time, usually 2 weeks is what we're looking for, they're considered owned. But also a lot of people have, barn cats and things like that. Frederick County still has a lot of rural areas. They're, animals end up on their farms, they have kittens, they own those kittens once they're born, and then they bring them to us. He did come in with a litter, I believe, of 5, and he is the last one of that litter to be made available to be adopted. So he's very friendly, he's very social, he was cool with being picked up and handled. He's your typical kitten. A variety of kittens come in every year. Some of them are really super social, like Todd, and others need a little bit more socialization, can be a little bit more fearful, and that's why you can see that some of the kittens have some age restrictions on the types of children that we're thinking thinking of, Todd doesn't really care. He can go anywhere. But we do have some kittens who are very fearful of loud noises and fast movement. So younger kids might make them upset, and we want to make sure that we're not setting the kittens up for failure, but we also don't want children to get bitten and scratched and things like that. With kittens, some people like to adopt 2. We will adopt out 2 cats at a time. You can mix and match litters, or you can look for litter mates. In addition to these kittens that we have, we also have a bonded pair of kittens that are a little bit older. Captain and Keating, they're about 6 months old. So that's always a good option as well.
So I'm curious, how did he get his name?
So yeah, we like human names for pets around here, but because we're doing this promotion to kind of honor all of the people who work in our educational system, we took a list of the county teachers of the year. Apparently in Frederick County, there's school level teachers of the year, so each school has their, this is the teacher that was the best this year, and we named some of the litters of kittens after those guys, and Todd was one of the names, the first names of one of those teachers. I can't remember which elementary school he came from, but we do have a QR code on our cat adoption floor that takes you right to that website, and will give you a list of all of those teachers who were honored this past school year with that award. Again, we haven't had that many educators or people working in the school systems coming in to take advantage of that promotion, but as long as you filled out your application and submitted it through the end of June, anybody who works at a school, whether you are working at a public school, private school, college, you're working as somebody in the cafeteria, or you're a principal, teacher, whatever, as long as you come in and show your ID, we are adopting out a pet for free to you during the month of June. Is anybody out there looking for a 70-pound lap dog? Because if so, we have the perfect guy for you. This is Ziggy, and he is one of the many dogs that we have available for adoption right now. He's about 5 years old, and he is a terrier mix. He's a beautiful fawn and white color, and he is the king of cuddles. He wants to be on you, near you, next to you, sitting on you, invading your personal space bubble, basically as frequently as humanly possible, right? He's been hanging out all day up in our front office for the last couple of days. He's super quiet. He's a great office dog. He doesn't make any noise. All he wants you to do is take work breaks to pet him and give him some attention. He just likes to lay around, take naps. He walks nicely on a leash too. He's like a slow guy. He likes to mosey, meander. He has some bursts of energy, but he's not, super crazy, even for a bigger dog. Recently took him to an event, and he greeted every stranger like they were his best friend, and he wanted to sit on them, sometimes knock them over so he could cuddle better. But he just really loves attention and affection, and he's going to be a great addition to any household. And we did write down on his paperwork, maybe some older kids, just because he does like to be in your space, and he may, in an attempt to cuddle, knock a small child over. But again, those things are things, if your kids are used to having a large dog in the house, things like that, those age requirements or recommendations are not hard and fast rules.
So we established that Ziggy loves people. How does he feel about other dogs?
So with other dogs, he can be a little bit choosy. So he did previously live with another dog named Maui, who is also on our adoption floor, but they have not been housed together here. Oftentimes when you put 2 large dogs together in our small kennels, they can kind of bicker and fight. So he was fine, according to his previous owners, with his brother from another mother, if you will. But in his kennel, when the dogs are walking by, he can be a little reactive, which makes it appear like he is dog aggressive. A lot of our dogs just are frustrated with the kennel and the barrier, and they want to interact and play and things like that, and they can't. So they get a little frustrated. But outside, I've seen him, certain dogs he does better with than others, but he does have an interest in dogs. When he was up in our front lobby, we were walking our longtime resident Julie by. He was super interested in Julie in a good way. So it just depends on the dog, which is why we require anybody who's looking to adopt one of our dogs to bring in any existing dogs to see how they're going to do. We typically do those kind of meet and greets with parallel walks outside in a more neutral area. Gives us a guide on how they're going to be. So that's the recommendation and requirement for any dog that you would be adopting for us, but it is going to be important for a dog who can be a little dog selective like Ziggy. If you're interested in meeting Ziggy or any of the adoptable dogs, Go to visit fcac.as.me to book your appointment to visit. If you're not looking for a couch potato like Ziggy, you're looking for something a little bit more energetic, then make it a Blockbuster night. This is Blockbuster. He came to us as a stray. He is about 3 to 4 years old based on our exam, and he has been described as full of exuberance. He's wiggly and happy and playful. So if you're looking again for a dog that's going to be running around playing and things like that, going to be more prone to want to hang out in the backyard, go on hikes and stuff, then Blockbuster might be a better choice for you. He does need to work on some basic manners things, house training, as all the dogs in kennel environments do. He reluctantly trades objects, so getting him used to trading toys and things more frequently and with greater ease would be helpful. He can pull a little bit on his leash. Not something that I've seen a lot, but it just depends on, I think, the scenario. How excited is he to get out, things like that. I've definitely noticed when I'm walking him, he likes to roll in the grass, so making sure that he's on a properly fitted leash, collar, harness, all of that stuff, so that he doesn't roll out. That's going to be for his safety. We want to make sure that he's not getting into a situation where he's loose, could potentially get injured, things like that. So just a lot of those little things we really need to that you would do for any dog are kind of what we're looking for Blockbuster.
So we've established that he's energetic. What kind of home would be best suited for him?
So definitely somebody who's going to be able to devote the time to making sure that he gets both the physical and mental exercise and stimulation that he needs. If you are working, 16 hours a day or whatever, maybe, he's not going to get what he needs. So kind of thinking about, does the dog's energy level fit into your lifestyle? If you want to just lay around and watch TV, that's cool. I like to lay around and watch TV too, but maybe Ziggy might be a better choice. He also needs an owner that's going to work with him on some of those basic manners things. Maybe a little impulse control, so like the say please protocol, where he has to sit quietly and politely before he gets good things, so that he knows that calmness is what brings him his toys and his food and things like that would be really helpful. We recommend that for all the dogs, but for the really energetic dogs who like to jump up and things like that, it can be much more beneficial. But overall, he's a great dog with a lot of potential. He just needs those things that all of the shelter dogs need: some good manners training and a little bit of exercise and stimulation. And we go over all of those things in our adoption interviews. So we'll talk about, things that you can do to keep his, mind busy on days that it's raining and all of those things, so that you're not trying to figure it out on your own. We kind of set you up for success. If you have the matching energy for a Blockbuster and you want to make him part of your family, the first step is obviously to meet with him and get to know him a little bit. You can do that by booking an appointment at visitfcac.as.me. We have a lot of terrier mixes, but we're bringing something a little different to the show now. This is London, and she is our German Shepherd. And she came to us because her owner was homeless, which we are seeing more and more frequently, I feel like, these days. Bella and Porky, for the same reason, there was homelessness involved previously. Leah, our big boxer mix, same thing. So we are here for anyone who needs, a safe haven for their animals, and we will do our best to find them the best possible homes. And London is one of those dogs that's in that situation. She's about 3 years old, and she is, a playful, kind of affectionate dog. She's very friendly. She doesn't seem to be, concerned at all about other dogs, no reaction to other dogs. She's a little wiggly. She has a little bit of that standard shepherd neuroses. She's a little neurotic a little bit. But, she enjoys petting. But one of the things that we want to make sure everyone who's potentially interested in adopting London knows is that when London is eating, she does not want to be bothered. She is a little protective of her food. So, we have signs out. That's why we're also recommending her for families that, the youngest children in the home would be teenagers, just so everybody can fully understand London's eating, we're going to leave her alone. She has very good body language and lets you know that she's uncomfortable if you're approaching her while she's eating. So she's definitely giving off all of those warnings, letting you know, hey, I don't want to bother you. I don't want to mess with you. Please don't mess with me. those types of, food guarding is what we would really call it, can be worked on, but I would encourage anybody who's interested in working with those things with her to consult a trainer and make sure you're doing it properly and safely so that you can have that good guide. But that is, again, the reason that we are looking for, teenagers or adults only to be part of London's new family.
So we recently spayed London here at the shelter, and during the procedure we found something interesting.
Yeah, so during those surgeries when the animals are anesthetized, we often take those opportunities to examine them further because they're not wiggling and moving around. We can trim their nails, we can look at their teeth, give them vaccines. We can also clean their ears. And when one of the members of the team was trying to clean London's ears, they noticed a weird little bump in her ear. And so the vet, sliced it open, and what did they find inside there? A BB pellet. So at some point, someone had shot London with a BB gun because that pellet was, the BB was embedded in her ear. So that can, we often don't know what's going on and what the animal's pasts have been, but, at some point that had happened to her. So that could explain some of her reluctance, and head shyness and things like that. So, we want to make sure it's not appropriate to shoot any animal with BB guns, pellet guns, even Nerf darts. We've had dogs in here before who were very fearful of those types of things and were surrendered because kids were shooting them with Nerf guns and playing with them in their proximity. So just being mindful of that and understanding that a lot of times animals are exhibiting behaviors or they're uncomfortable for a reason. You might not know what that reason is, like in this instance with London. We didn't know until that surgery. But being cautious and helping them to feel more comfortable with, over time with being touched in those areas and just really being observant and respectful of your pets. But it was just like an interesting fact, and it definitely gives us a glimpse into why she may behave some of the ways that she does. If you are a family that is looking to add a German Shepherd to your household, and you want to visit with London, you can make that appointment and start that process by going to visit fcac.as.me. Quinn is just 9 months old, and he's actually one of our longest residents. He's lived with us for about 130 days, since February. And some people might say, well, how did a puppy end up one of your longest residents? And that's because when Quinn came in, he came in with a litter of puppies, and they were all a little bit under-socialized, and Quinn actually had a wound of unknown origin, which means it's an open wound where we can't tell where it came from. And because of laws in the state and health reasons, we have to quarantine those animals because of the potential for rabies. So he's been living here for 4 months, and that quarantine requires very restrictive things, like he can't go out beyond, certain barriers and things like that because of those health concerns. So he was already a little bit of an under-socialized puppy, and now he's been restricted here. And we've been doing our best to make sure that we're exposing him to things. So, the kennel staff have been working on teaching him to sit and taking him to areas where he is allowed to go. And he's recently finished his quarantine, so they're now trying to expose him to the larger outdoors, getting him used to cars. They play household noises on their phones for him, so like, doorbells and, running dishwater and those types of things to kind of expose him. He's a very friendly, he's very social with people. He doesn't really have any issues with other dogs. He's very playful, but he thinks that a lot of things in the world are scary because he's never been exposed to them before. And when puppies are young, it's owners' jobs to show them that all things in the world are good. And he just hasn't had that opportunity to be exposed to as many things. So he's going to be a loving dog, but a bit of a project dog for whoever takes him on.
So given that he's grown up at the shelter, what kind of family might be best fitted for him?
So we are looking for families with older children. I think it says older teenagers and adults because we don't want to push him too far. We want everybody to understand what Quinn's limitations are. Even once he finished his quarantine, we were like, he can't just go on a regular walk. He has to go like 3 feet outside the gate and see if he's comfortable, and then a little bit more, and a little bit more each day. Because if you push him too far because you don't understand, then that might be upsetting for him. Also, he's not really accustomed to loud noises. I think somebody dropped a box the other day and it really freaked him out. So, younger kids are going to do lots of loud noises, fast movements, things that Quinn's not used to, accustomed to, and would be definitely a little bit fearful of. And he does pancake and splat, and he kind of backs away when he's nervous. We want to make sure everybody has a good understanding of that. And while we don't have any requirements on dog ownership experience listed on his paperwork, I would encourage somebody to be dog savvy when taking Quinn on, because you want to pay attention to his body language, know when he's feeling uncomfortable, but you also want to have some training experience, because you're going to have to do a lot of counter conditioning with Quinn to let him change his associations and make sure his associations with things are positive. Definitely a very patient family. He's not the dog that you're going to take out for a hike 2 weeks after you got him. You're not taking him to PetSmart and letting him pick out his own toys, and taking him to all the breweries and the family barbecues and stuff like that. He's going to be a great dog, but he's going to take him months to even years to really work up to all of those things. We want to make sure that people are prepared. He's a very special dog who we've all grown very fond of, but he's going to need a very special family. And if you think you're the special family that Quinn needs, as he steals some treats there, you can go to visit fcac.as.me to book your appointment. He's one of the dogs that we want people to meet, not walking past his kennel, so you may or may not see him when you walk through, so just make sure that you ask the staff if you're interested in meeting Quinn. We hope that you enjoyed meeting so many of our adoptable animals. Again, there are plenty more to choose from. If you didn't see your perfect pet, make that appointment to visit and stop by. You may find what you've been looking for.